They say the world we live in is solid, predictable, but what if that's just the surface? Somewhere between the shadows and the silence, there are places where screams echo, but no mouths move, where lights hang in the air like bait, and what watches you never quite blinks. A couple hears a voice inside their head in Valley of Fire, a voice that doesn't speak, but commands. A towering figure glides through the ridges above Red Rock Canyon, whispering things you were never meant to understand. And deep in the Great Basin, something circles your tent all night, scraping warnings into the dirt you can't even read. They weren't looking for anything. Just a hike, a photo, a night under the stars. But what they found was something else entirely. Welcome to Weird Encounters, a place where the ordinary fades into shadow and the unexplainable comes alive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and become part of our ever-growing community of the curious. Now prepare yourself, because what you are about to hear is not for the faint of heart. Campers visiting Great Basin National Park were expecting peaceful nights under Nevada's stars, but soon realized they weren't alone. Something mysterious and sinister was watching from the shadows. But what was it that was watching them? I really need to get this off my chest because honestly, I've been feeling pretty shaken ever since last weekend. My buddy Steve and I had planned a camping trip at Great Basin National Park in Nevada. I've camped plenty of times before at places like Yellowstone and Yosemite, so I was expecting just another relaxing weekend beneath the stars. But trust me, that wasn't what happened at all. Things felt strange right from the beginning. When we first started setting up our campsite, Steve suddenly stopped and stared into the trees. He swore he saw something move. At first, I thought he was just playing around since Steve loves pulling practical jokes, but then I turned to see for myself, and sure enough, there it was. A massive shadow darting between the trees, much bigger and faster than any human could be. It moved so quickly that I thought maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me, but deep down, I knew they weren't. I tried convincing myself it was probably just wildlife, maybe a deer or an elk. It was starting to get dark, and everything was blending together, but even then, something about it didn't feel normal. It felt like we were being watched, quietly observed from the darkness just beyond our view. Steve laughed nervously and tried to brush it off, but I could tell by the look in his eyes that he was uneasy too. As night fell, things only got worse. We had barely gotten comfortable in our tent when we started hearing strange sounds around us. They weren't the typical noises you hear from animals in the woods at night. These were different. Low whispers and a weird humming sound that seemed to circle around our tent, gradually getting closer and closer. At first, we thought it might be some kids or other campers trying to prank us. But there was something unsettling about the way these noises moved so deliberately, like whatever was out there knew exactly where we were. Steve suddenly remembered a conversation he had overheard in Ely, the nearest town to the park. He mentioned locals talking about strange sightings and mysterious creatures known as night crawlers. They supposedly looked tall and skinny, moving silently through the darkness, keeping their distance and just watching people. According to the stories, these creatures never attacked directly. Instead, they tormented people mentally until they couldn't take it anymore. Steve tried to make a joke out of it, but neither of us laughed this time. Around 3 a.m, Steve woke me up in a panic, whispering urgently that he saw glowing eyes right outside our tent. I thought he might be half asleep or hallucinating, but when I looked outside, I saw them too. 2 bright yellow eyes staring straight at us, way too high off the ground to be a normal animal. Those eyes moved slowly from side to side, as if studying us carefully. I felt my heart stop, frozen in complete fear. We spent the rest of the night wide awake, barely daring to breathe, just watching those eyes and listening to heavy footsteps circling our tent. The sounds of branches breaking and leaves crunching underfoot were unmistakable. Whatever was outside seemed to know exactly how terrified we were, and it felt like it was deliberately playing with us, feeding off our fear. Steve quietly whispered prayers under his breath, and I could feel how scared he really was. As the sun finally started to rise, everything went quiet. The eyes vanished, and we lay there until the sun fully illuminated our campsite. When we stepped outside, we were shocked. Our campsite had been completely trashed. Chairs were thrown across the clearing, cooking equipment was scattered all around, and there were strange, deep scratches in the dirt surrounding our tent. Some scratches even looked like bizarre symbols. Steve thought they might be messages or warnings, but I didn't want to think too deeply about what they could mean. We quickly packed up our stuff, barely speaking to each other, just desperate to get out of there. As we drove out, we stopped at a nearby gas station, and I nervously mentioned our experience to the cashier. He didn't seem surprised at all. In fact, he nodded knowingly and said other people had come through talking about similar things, shadowy figures, tall creatures with glowing eyes. His advice was straightforward: don't camp there. On the drive home, Steve was unusually quiet. Eventually, he told me about his cousin who worked at a nearby mining operation. He explained that miners there had reported similar sightings, massive shadow figures moving silently through the darkness and strange humming noises deep underground. He even mentioned stories about mysterious government vehicles arriving at the site, staying briefly, and then leaving without explanation. Some locals believed that the area might be a testing ground for secret experiments or a holding place for creatures that had escaped from somewhere. Honestly, I'm still not sure exactly what we encountered. Was it some unknown creature, something supernatural, or maybe even a secret government project? Whatever it was, it definitely wasn't normal. Ever since we got back, I've been struggling to sleep, constantly waking up in the middle of the night, convinced those glowing eyes are somewhere in my room, watching me. In the burning red canyons of Nevada's Valley of Fire, where tourists snap selfies and hikers chase the sunset, something darker moves beneath the surface. A pair of campers stumble onto lights, figures, and secrets not meant to be seen. Is it a secret military cover-up, or is it something completely unexplainable? Something really messed up happened out in Valley of Fire, and I'm still trying to figure out what the hell we saw. I've been out there a few times before, mostly for photos. There's nothing like that red rock glow around golden hour. It always felt wide open, peaceful, even when it's dead quiet. But Friday night, it was something else entirely. I can't stop thinking about it. It's like every time I close my eyes, I see those lights again. We weren't even supposed to be out that late. My cousin Eric and I had been hiking all afternoon, trying to find this natural arch we saw on Instagram. We got turned around after sunset, and by the time we found the trail again, it was dark, like dark. No cell service, no moon yet, just headlamps and the sound of our own boots scraping the rock. The temperature dropped fast, too, more than usual. It was like the whole place got cold without warning. That's when we saw the first light. It was hovering, not high up in the sky, but kind of low, above this bluff maybe half a mile off. At first, we thought it might be a drone. It was this glowing orange ball, perfectly still. But then it blinked 3 times in a pattern, like blink, blink, pause, blink. And then it shot off sideways, faster than anything I've ever seen. Not a sound, not even a breeze from it. Eric yelled something like, "Nope," and started walking faster. I laughed but felt this cold feeling crawl up my back. It wasn't just the light. It was the sudden pressure in the air, like everything got heavier, thicker. Like when you're underwater and a current hits you from nowhere. The silence after that blink was deafening. The air felt charged like static or ozone, and my ears were ringing. We started booking it toward the parking lot, but then we saw the other lights. This time, a set of 3 in a triangle. White-blue. Low to the ground. They were moving in total silence, almost like they were scanning the area. We ducked behind a rock formation and just watched, holding our breath. The lights hovered maybe 20 feet off the ground, then slowly descended behind a ridge. No sound, no dust, no animals either. Usually you hear bugs, birds, something. It was like even nature had taken the night off. We waited a long time before moving again, and that's when the real weirdness started. We heard a voice, not like a regular voice, but inside our heads. A low tone, vibrating. It didn't say words. It was more like an instruction. Like, don't move. I looked at Eric and saw the panic in his eyes. We stayed frozen behind that rock, trying not to even breathe. I remember my arms locking up, like my body didn't even want to move. Out of nowhere, two figures came up over the hill, walking in total sync. They were wearing these black suits that didn't reflect anything, like the desert just swallowed them. No visible faces, no gear, just these dark, human-shaped things walking like they were on a mission. They stopped exactly where those triangle lights had been and started doing something on the ground, like scanning or collecting. They moved like machines. One of them even knelt down and placed its hand, or whatever it had, against the rock. A second later, the ground under it lit up in a soft blue glow. That's when I remembered something I heard from a gas station guy out in Overton a year ago. He said there's a part of Valley of Fire that used to be off limits during the Cold War. Supposedly, there were entrances out there, underground tunnels used by the military, and maybe even stuff tied to Area 51. He claimed people still go missing out there from time to time, and the government just erases it, like it never happened. He said the entrances are sealed now, but sometimes at night, you can hear machinery under your feet if you listen close. Suddenly, one of the black-suited figures looked straight in our direction. Not just looking, locked in, like it knew exactly where we were even though we hadn't made a sound. That same pressure returned, like gravity doubled, and my head felt like it was buzzing. The lights came back, this time red, and lit up the rock above us. We bolted. We ran like our lives depended on it. I don't know how we didn't trip in the dark, but we just kept going. The trail didn't even look the same. It felt like we were being led in circles. Eric thought we were going the wrong way and tried to stop to check the GPS, but his phone was dead. Mine too. Both of them had over 50% battery when we started the hike. We kept moving until we finally saw the glint of the car under the starlight. When we finally made it back to the car, the air was totally still again. No wind, no stars, no sound. The only thing we saw was a small, round metal disc lying in the dirt next to the tire. I picked it up. It was warm and etched with this geometric pattern like something you'd see in crop circles. Eric said to drop it and leave it, so I did. We didn't even dust off our shoes. We just got in and drove. We didn't talk the whole drive back to Henderson. Next morning I felt sick, nausea, splitting headache. Same with Eric. We didn't even eat all day. When I finally texted him around 9 p.m., he told me he had a weird dream. In it, he was in that canyon again, except it wasn't nighttime. It was bright white light everywhere, and those black figures were standing around him, doing something to his arms. I didn't even respond right away. I was too freaked out. Because I had the same exact dream, except mine went on longer. They weren't just doing something to my arms. One of them leaned down and looked right at me. No face, just that humming sound again. And then I woke up with my nose bleeding. We haven't told anyone. Who would believe us? But something's going on out there in Valley of Fire. And I don't think it's aliens. Not exactly. I think it's people. Government, maybe. Messing with something they don't understand, or maybe hiding something the rest of us aren't supposed to see. Eric doesn't want to talk about it anymore. He thinks we might be being watched. He put tape over his laptop camera. I haven't even opened my laptop since. What began as a romantic overnight hike in Red Rock Canyon quickly unraveled into something darker, something terrifying. For one couple, the desert revealed a voice no one should have to ever hear. This is their story. I've been thinking about it for days now, running it over in my head. What happened to me and Mia out in Red Rock Canyon is something I never thought I'd experience. I've been hiking that place since high school. It's always felt like a getaway, you know? Real quiet, scenic, peaceful. You can see Vegas in the distance but feel like you're in another world. That night, it felt like another world, but not in a good way. So we got there late, probably around 6:45 p.m., just as the sun was dipping behind the red cliffs. We parked near the Pine Creek Trail area, a place we've used before. The light was fading fast, and we were in a hurry to set up. But literally, the second we stepped out of the car, we heard this scream, like this unreal, layered sound. It was high-pitched and guttural all at once. It didn't sound like a coyote or bobcat. I've heard those before. This was something else. Mia froze up and asked me if I heard it, and I was like, yeah, there's no way to not hear that. She tried laughing it off, said maybe it was just a mountain lion, but I could see her face go pale. I didn't say anything, but in my gut I knew that wasn't a mountain lion. It had this echo to it, almost like the canyon was amplifying something it didn't want you to hear. We started hiking anyway. We wanted to make it to our usual spot before full dark, but every few minutes that scream would come back. It wasn't moving away, it was tracking us, like it was following from ridge to ridge, staying just out of sight but never too far. And then, at one point, it just stopped. That silence, it was heavier than the screams, like the canyon was holding its breath. We reached our spot and threw together the tent as quickly as we could. I kept glancing up toward the cliffs and ridge lines. That's when Mia nudged me and pointed. At first, I saw nothing. Then the fire caught something tall, way taller than any person I've ever seen. Maybe 8, 9 feet. It was thin, stick-like, but there was a head, shoulders. It didn't move, just stood at the ridge, staring straight at us. It was black, but not in the way a shadow is black. It was like it absorbed light. Mia started mumbling something under her breath. I asked what she was saying, and she told me about some old story her grandmother had told her when she was a kid growing up in Summerlin. Something about the canyon whisperers, these old spirits or creatures that live deep in the canyon, way older than the petroglyphs you find near Willow Spring. Supposedly, they sing or scream to trick people into leaving the trail, then they follow you home. She said her grandma told her once about a man who went missing in the 70s after claiming he saw one. He came back weeks later, confused, barefoot, barely able to speak. That scream came again, this time so loud it hurt. I swear the flames of the fire shifted with the sound, like it was affecting the air itself. Mia clutched my arm so hard I thought she might bruise it. That thing on the ridge finally moved. Not walked, glided, just shifted sideways, unnaturally smooth. We were done. We grabbed what we could and left the rest. As we started back toward the car, the scream stopped, but we heard whispers. Not voices exactly, but like murmuring all around us. Like if you were in a crowd of people talking just low enough that you couldn't understand, but you knew it was about you. We turned our flashlights on and kept moving. Mia kept saying she saw eyes, and once I thought I did too. Small, glowing red dots just inside the brush. They disappeared the second we pointed the light at them. We practically jogged the last half mile. When we got back to the car, we just sat there with the doors locked, catching our breath. The desert was completely quiet. Not a bug, not a breeze, nothing. We finally drove off, not saying much the whole way back into town. The next morning, we went to this diner in Blue Diamond, needed coffee and something normal. We told the waitress, Carol, what we'd heard and seen. She looked at us for a second, then said, "You heard them." Just like that. She said there's been stories forever, back to the Paiute tribes even. She said the old miners used to talk about hearing things out in the rocks, and more than a few people had gone missing over the years. Rangers blamed it on the heat or people not preparing properly, but the locals knew better. Carol said the whisperers never really leave you once they've seen you. We left town and haven't said much about it since. I haven't even gone through the photos on my phone from that day. I feel like if I look too hard, I'll see something in the background I missed the first time. Anyway, I don't know what we saw. I don't know what we heard. I just know I'm not going back there. And so, another strange encounter fades away. A trick of the mind, or something far more unsettling. That's for you to decide. Thank you so much for watching my stories. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your support is what keeps this channel going.